Hey, all, thanks for joining me. I've got a lot to share with you this evening. If you recall, President Trump has been saying a lot of really horrific things the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to share with you what Tucker Carlson had to say on that, just so you can get an idea, in case you haven't seen it somehow.
10 days ago on Easter Sunday, early on Easter Sunday, before 9 a.m. on Easter Sunday, when Trump tweeted that he was planning on destroying civilian infrastructure in Iran. It was going to be bridge and power plant day, basically promising war crimes against civilians, against the population of the country. And then in that same tweet, truth, he used the F word on Easter Sunday, and then he seemed to make fun of Islam. Praise Allah, he said. So in one short statement of about 110 words, he seemed to give the finger to the world's two largest religions, Christianity and Islam. That was Sunday. And then exactly 1 week later, also on Sunday, the Christian holy day, he attacked the Pope, the leader of the world's largest religion and largest Christian denomination, and attacked him personally and said basically he's only Pope because of me. He's bad. The Pope is bad. And then, later that day, maybe most interestingly, bafflingly of all, he sent out this meme. Take a look at this. Now, there are two on the screen. The one on the right is the one that he sent out, and it's himself. It's Donald Trump, President of the United States, dressed as Jesus, healing a man. And you can see the healing power coming off of his right hand. Now, the image on the left of your screen is the original image, and it was floating around the internet. Who knows exactly where it came from, but it's been there for quite some time. The one on the right is the one the president sent out, White House Communications Office, or whoever does this, sent out, and you'll notice that it's been changed, and the American soldier over the president's head, the president as Jesus' head, has been changed and is now, if you look very carefully, a demon, some kind of winged creature of hell. So it goes from an image that suggests, healing and light to an image that suggests, a scene from Revelation, John's vision on the Isle of Patmos, the end times, the apocalypse, who knows? Nothing good. It suggests demonic power because there is a demon in it. So he sent that out and then withdrew it, deleted the tweet from the internet after an outcry, but was asked about it, and he said, yeah, I sent that. Didn't explain how the demon got in there. Someone at the White House put it in. Didn't explain why. And he said, I sent it out, but it wasn't me as Jesus, though obviously it is. It was me as a doctor, because I heal people. Jesus, of course, basically described himself as a doctor, someone who came for the sick to heal them, which he did. So maybe a distinction without a difference, but still kind of confusing.
Yeah. Any Christian that saw that meme was offended. It was blasphemous, sacrilege, and Trump does think he's a god. That's part of his narcissism. About that demon that was added, I found that kind of interesting because the originals didn't have that. And then all of a sudden there's this demon put in there. I wonder if that was somebody making some kind of message there from the White House. I don't know. But yeah, he said that. He also, talked about wiping out a civilization. Crazy talk mixed with his narcissistic personality. There are a lot of different opinions on what they think is going on with Trump. For instance, one of my friends just thinks this whole thing is a psyop and that he's part of it. And then there's my son that thinks he's MK Ultra or drugged up. Then there's John Helmer and Larry Johnson that think that he's going, in the stages of dementia. And there's Colonel McGregor that thinks that he is subservient to Netanyahu and Izzy. and others that have the same view, that he's being blackmailed. And of course, other people are calling him a malignant narcissist, okay? So there's a plethora of different opinions on why he's acting this way, because it's so bizarre. But then my other friend, my good friend, said he's always been like this. He's always been terrible. And since I never really paid attention to him, back in 2015 or in the 90s, I didn't really care. I didn't even notice him. I didn't know any of that. But yeah, so I think it's a mixture, like I said, of his narcissism and the blackmailing. That's my opinion. But, I could be wrong. Who knows? I'm going to show you now a post from Judge Napolitano that kind of goes into that part about the Pope, how he was disrespecting the Pope. We may not agree, we Orthodox may not agree with what the Pope says or, on certain things, but what he said about trying to bring peace in the region and that you shouldn't be doing these things, God doesn't answer these kind of warring prayers, which I agree with, and, most Christians do. If you're a Christian, you're always wanting peace, right? So he said, this is a quote, "The president's account on Truth Social is a noxious stew of misleading information, outright lies, and amoral imperialism. Last year's Don Roe doctrine is a cheap snark of the 1800s Monroe Doctrine, with no trace of the latter's objective. This year, in addition to 2 new criminal wars of aggression and regime change, Trump's contempt for real faith leads him to personally post images of himself as Christ, egged on by his deranged, quote-unquote, spiritual guide, Paula White. When questioned about the now-deleted post, he lied, saying it was a picture of himself as a doctor, making people better, something he does a lot. Like increasingly noticed U.S. military capabilities, Trump's lies are vapid and hollow." And he said this is from his friend, Karen Kwaitkowski, Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwaitkowski. Yeah. And I think she's spot on this. That's definitely what that is. He says, as far as you say, I'm a Christian, he's not really a Christian. Okay. He's agnostic. You can just be fair. He's agnostic. He is not a doctor. Not even close. What was the point? What was the point of that? No. And every time he goes up to talk, he's lying about what's happening on the war, as if, as I told my friend, as if we don't have eyes to see what's going on with Iran and the war there. I believe that Trump is part of the Epstein demonic web. I mean, if one is innocent, they wouldn't have their minions erase every place your name is in the Epstein files. And why is your name in the Epstein files? But many times. This isn't just a coincidental, 1, 2, 3 times. So, there was a woman, a victim, that came forward quite a while back, not this year or anything, like last year either. I mean, she had a testimony that was recorded, I think, by the police or whoever, maybe even the FBI, and that's been erased. I don't know. I think they might have been in the part of the Epstein files, but if not, she had her testimony, and it was something terrible he did to her when she was an 11-year-old child. So I don't have any real sympathy for Trump. Yes, I mistakenly voted for him thinking there was going to be change, And then I feel like I'm partially responsible for the deaths of all these people because I thought that we weren't going to have wars. I thought that he was going to do change, and that never happened. And, what's interesting is that a lot of the former military analysts and former CIA analysts I watch and others, a lot of people actually did the same thing I did, thinking this for some reason that he was going to do that. Maybe because his last time in office was not as, it did not show anything that's he's doing now, which is horrific. Later on in Tucker's video, he basically said that Christians were finding some scriptural verse that talks about basically the coming of the Antichrist. And he was saying that some people thought that he was the Antichrist. And he said he didn't know. And of course, my view is, no, he's not the Antichrist. I don't think he's the Antichrist, but he is could be an Antichrist. There's many in human history. And I definitely think that Netanyahu and his ilk and their government are an Antichrist. Speaking about Izzy, it seems that more and more countries are now coming forward to condemn their satanic, genocidal, horrific atrocities and war crimes. I'm going to share that with you. This is from a Spanish MP that I saw a couple weeks ago that I saved. She said, her name is Ione Ballara, if we do not stop Izzy in time, it will do to the whole world what it has already done to the Palestinians and what it's doing now in Lebanon. That's what she said. And there's plenty of other people that have spoken. But let me give you just a few that I have here. This is from Kim's show. And we're just going to play what this Polish MP had to say. She has it dubbed so that people can hear it instead of having to just read it.
Middle East through fuel prices, but how do children feel it when dozens of times more have died than in the entire war in Ukraine? It's because the Jews are using a forbidden phosphorus bomb which depletes oxygen from the air and leads to their death by suffocation. More, the smoke from this bomb gets into the lungs and burns them from within. They suffocate and burn from the inside at the same time. Tens of thousands of women and children. But if some child is lucky and doesn't suffocate, white phosphorus will stick to their cheek, to their hand, and burns through the tissues right down to the bone. It cannot be extinguished, so the cheek must be cut off, the hand amputated. Israel is committing, right before our very eyes, a genocide of truly horrific and exceptional cruelty. Israel is the new Third Reich, and its flag should look exactly like that. Oh!
Yeah. That's what he said. I don't think it's that far-fetched. We have the South Korean president, who, I'll tell you that Asians don't usually pay much attention to other countries. I mean, they don't get involved in other people's affairs, and they basically stay in their region. But I think he's just come to the fact. What he saw was a video of and it was from 2024. It's a true video. It's not AI. Of a IDF throwing a Palestinian off of a building. Now, this man was dead. Obviously, they killed him, and then they just threw him off this building, okay? I'm obviously not going to show that. But anyway, his response, because Smotrich came in there and was like, how dare you? And Smotrich is an extreme Zionist. I mean, he and Ben Gvir are basically terrorists, okay? So this is what he, the South Korean president said. He said, it's disappointing that you don't take, he's talking about Smotrich. It's disappointing that you don't take a moment to reflect on the criticisms from people around the world who are suffering and struggling due to your relentless anti-human rights and anti-international law actions. Yes, you see, he can't, fathom this because, it's so inhumane and so demonic and barbaric. He just can't, and that's just looking at that, not even at all the other stuff that's been going on. When I am in pain, others feel it just as deeply. That's somebody that has empathy. Apparently, they don't. It's only natural to feel sorry if someone else is suffering because of my needs. It makes me deeply uncomfortable to watch this immense pain and national hardship that our innocent citizens are suddenly enduring out of nowhere like a bolt from the blue. Now, he's obviously hasn't been following all this, but the point is, you see how he's now coming aware of this. For the sake of universal human rights and the national interests of the Republic of Korea, I must work harder to find things I can do. He also compared the acts of the Izzy's toward the Palestinians as how the Imperial Japanese treated the Chinese and the South Koreans. Not good. Okay, a really, really horrific. A horrific. If you don't know the story, you should look into it. My son knows it, and he may bring it up in the next live stream we do, where he talks about all this because he really is into the Asian culture. So he might fill you in on that, but it's not good. And of course, how dare you? And they did the same thing to the German Mertz, who was saying this was not good and what was happening to the Palestinians, and well, how dare you say that? You're not allowed. You have to be guilty for 80 years for something, the Holocaust. And nobody is okay with the Holocaust, okay? And no, I'm not a Holocaust denier. I believe the Holocaust happened. I believe it was horrible. I think it was terrible. It was inhumane, okay? But what are they doing now? Let me give you some more information from Kim's show.
Here's another investigation. This was done by Euromed Human Rights Monitor. And this report here depicts sexual violence in Israeli prisons and detention centers as a state-backed system. They sponsored it. They encouraged it. They allowed it to happen, and it was essentially state-sanctioned, and it was a system of torture.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into what it all is because it's very disturbing. Plus, I don't know what's going to happen with my channel. But when I heard it, I was like, it was really horrible. Let me just say that they have that as their prison regulation, what they do. Does that sound like a regular state to you? People there just consider this normal. If you've been following this Palestinian issue for a long time, I've followed it for about 10 to 12 years. Even this, the details she gave, and you can go watch her show. I can give you the link in the description. Suffice it to say, it's satanic, sadistic, torture and all that things, and the RAPE, all that's in there, but the details of it's definitely sadistic. It's definitely satanic, demonic. It just reminds me of the rituals that were done, that are probably still done because nobody has arrested anybody, with the Epstein demonic web. So, what kind of culture do you think the Izzy culture is when you know all of this, all that's been going on? One must understand, one who has a soul, who has a heart, who understands. No one can support this. If you have a soul, if you have a heart, you can't support this government and this state, really. Okay, I mean, they're merciless. That's what they are. I'm going to bring up a little piece of article that I thought was really important. It was, it really explains a lot. So it's all about self-deification. I think I talked to you about that in one of my other Epstein videos, is that, you think that you're God. It's basically that thing of, if there is no God, then everything is permitted. Tempted by the evil one. This is from the brothers Karamazov. Yeah. And like I said, when you have all that power, and Father Josiah talked about that on Tucker Show, it's poison. Power is poison, okay? But I'm just going to read a couple things in here. When you think that you are God, it is satanic, because that's exactly what Satan did, Lucifer did, before he fell from the heavens, okay, along with the third of the angels, and became demons. So then there's the thing about, we're the chosen people. Okay, that's another thing. The idea that the chosen stand above society's morality is not new. It can be traced from the ancient sophists, who proclaimed that man is the measure of all things. This principle, severing the connection between truth and objective divine law, contained the seed of future arbitrariness. If the measure of all things is the individual man, then the strong and clever become the measure for the weak and foolish. That's right. Christianity offered a different, opposite anthropology. Every person is the image of God, called to deification, to becoming a God-man through humility, repentance, virtuous love, and obedience to the Creator and Provider. This is the path of grace-filled, virtuous transformation, accessible to everyone through Christ. And Athanasius had said, God became man so that man might become God by grace. Yes, but I have these people that think that they are above God. You have people who think they're special, they're chosen, and so they're better than the other humans, when we all know that God sees every human. He loves all of us. I will always remember Saint Mother Gavrila's, one of her sayings. I love her sayings. She said, God loves your enemy as much as he loves you. And it's important to remember that. Even all these horrible people out there doing demonic things, even Netanyahu, God loves all his people, all his creation. And the thing is, as Father Josiah said on Tucker Show, we aren't one ethnic group. We're not one special group. We're all God's children. When we are brought into his church, there's no, as they say, there's no Jew or Gentile. Everyone is the body of Christ when you come in the church. So that was important to share, because, and that article is really good. I can put it in the description in case you're interested in reading more about it. I have one other thing to share from Kim's show. This is what she has to say.
I think many of us don't even think a two-state solution is even possible at this point. Israel just needs to be shut down the same way that Nazi Germany was. And that's what obviously needs to happen. That ideology and Zionism has to be eradicated. It is a scourge on the earth. It is causing death and destruction. It is a terroristic mentality. That is obvious. It is no different than Nazism. It really isn't.
Okay. So I played her opinion on that, and I agree. I've been saying it doesn't deserve to be a state for a while. It needs to be dismantled. They can go back to being nomads. They've just caused so much death and destruction. They allowed the demonic powers to possess them, because this is what's happened. Power corrupts, as they say, but they're possessed by the evil one and doing the evil one's work. Why? I mean, no other country just goes around and kills women and children and babies and all that. They're doing that in Lebanon, razing down whole neighborhoods. Many are Christian. So, yes, it needs to be eradicated. And, people, all the world needs to come together, and they need to stop this. as the Spanish MP said, we've got to stop this. And it should have been stopped a while back. But you know, always in these cases, it takes people a while to wake up to this issue. Now, I have a couple of interesting videos to share. One of them is from my older video, and another one I saw on Al Jazeera. My son brought it up. And it's about certain things that were happening. You might get something out of it. I'll bring it up now. Okay, so this is my video from like 9 months ago. This particular event that I'm going to show you happened the day after Izzy attacked Iran in June 2025. Okay, so just remember that. Here it is.
עזוב את הדגל בכלל. אני בשוק. עורב, מה? אני בהלם. אני בשוק.
I considered that to be a sign. There was also a black flamingo that was found somewhere in Israel before that 12-day war. I do believe animals can be symbols of signs of what God puts forth, because God uses his creation to reach out to people, okay, through nature, through his creation. There, a crow took down an Izzy flag. And that was the day after they attacked Iran. And I thought that was very interesting. The article is really good, if you want to go back and watch it. But the man that wrote it said, you know, the evangelicals were always looking for signs. He said, well, you can look at this as a sign, but in the opposite way. Not a good one. Where basically he said that in the Judaism, a crow can mean judgment, which I thought very, very interesting. So that could have been a sign of God's judgment when they attacked Iran unprovoked. They were, that was a sign. It could be, right? Now, that's how I see it. That's how I look at things. It's through my lens. You all can share what you think on that. But there's one other one my son made aware today for me is the thing that happened that has been making news, Al Jazeera. I'll just play it. Residents of Israel have documented thousands of bees swarming the southern area in Izzy. Local authorities have advised residents and shop owners to keep all doors and windows closed. Israeli media reports the swarms are now appearing in multiple areas across the country. My son, he said, that reminds me of the Old Testament and the pharaohs and all the plagues, That's what he thought of when he saw that. And I thought, okay, well, this could be a sign, another sign from his creation. So you all can tell me what you think. You never know, but you can share what you think on that. Now, I have a part to show you now from St. Paisios' prophecy, because here we are talking about signs and what might be the demise of the Izzy state. And I've shared these things before, but it's always good to have a refresher on this. But I'm going to show you this one clip. So this is what he had said. He's talking about when Russia comes down and eventually, he's talking about the ISFE and all that, but let's just see what it says here. In the spring of 1993, some pilgrims visited Elder Paisios. The pilgrims asked him if there would be a war with Turkey, and the elder said, yes, there will be a war, and Turkey will be hit from the north. It will suffer enormous destruction, but not a single Greek nostril will bleed. As for the city, he's talking about Constantinople, it will be governed by Russians, Greeks, and Europeans. This storm will reach as far as Izzy. Now, this is when he talked about the Chinese and the Russians just outside the doors, basically, if you will, of Jerusalem. And then the Jays will understand their mistake. Sad that it's taking them that long, but people who are so hardened of heart, I'll just read that again. It will be governed, the city will be governed by Russians, Greeks, and Europeans. This storm will reach as far as Izzy, and then the Jays will understand their mistake. It's a nice, polite way of putting it, isn't it? They will understand their mistake. Because I was always wondering, why in the world are China and Russia, why do they end up right outside of Izzy? And I read one Russian prophecy that said that Russia was going to go in there and destroy Izzy and take it over. I don't know. That's just one I read. But all I know is that if they're outside, why are they there? Things are starting to look pretty understandable of why this is happening, and why the war happens. Because of all the economic woes, but that continue and will continue. But I wanted to share that as a reminder of what St. Paisios said. Elder Joseph said that the Hebrews, as he put it, would be crushed in this World War III. Just like in World War II, where everybody had to crush the Nazis, right? So God reveals these things to us. Those who can hear, those who have ears to hear, eyes to see, can hear. Now, with all that darkness that's going on right now, my friend often asks me, she says, I don't know how people live without God, without Christ. How do people live without God? Not believing it. How can you? I said, well, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm nothing without him. And he's everything. So, yes, we don't know how people can make it at this time. So I'm going to share with you some nice news, kind of a contrast to this, of along with all this horrific stuff going on, here is Orthodoxy growing. And I think it's a great thing. We're going to start with England. England is having a lot of growth, okay? It says 250 newly illumined in England. Continued fruit of the Archdiocese of Thyatira Catechism program. See, there they are. It's called the Discover Orthodoxy Catechetical Program. And so they brought in hundreds into the Orthodox Church over the past several years. Last year, nearly 200 were illumined on Lazarus Saturday. This year, the Archdiocese reported even higher numbers, reflecting Orthodoxy's remarkable growth throughout the West in recent years. Approximately 250 individuals have been received into the Church through the program thus far in this year, 2026. And we are not that far into 2026, and they already have 250 people that have been received into the Church. Quite amazing. Looks like they were primarily adults, with several children among them, though. Program participants came from a wide range of backgrounds, including United Kingdom, Cyprus, Greece, Albania, Bulgaria, Africa, Latin America, Asia, and across the Commonwealth and Europe. Quite amazing. Now we're sticking with England. There's a new Orthodox mission parish that's begun in northwest England, Warrington. This was out February 13th. So they have the first divine liturgy for St. Oswald's was served on Saturday, February 7th in the ancient church of St. Elphin, Warrington. It was an Anglican church before that. 49 people attended, quote, which is an excellent beginning for this new mission, yes, end quote. That was written by the Orthodox Church of St. Aidan of Lindisfarne in Levenshulme, Shulme. The mission is part of the Antiochian Orthodox Christian Archdiocese of the British Isles and Ireland. So that was pretty neat. Then we have this one in England. It's in Halifax. 34 members of former Evangelical parish join Orthodox Church. That's pretty cool. And not only that, they followed. Now, the journey began in 2018 when Pastor Doug Clark relocated with his family from southern England to Halifax, where he founded Hope Church in a socially deprived area of the town. What started as an evangelical ministry gradually evolved as Pastor Clark began studying Orthodox Christian teachings. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he deepened his research into Orthodox beliefs, including the real presence in the Eucharist, baptism, confession, and Mary as Theotokos, subsequently incorporating these teachings into his church services. The turning point came in 2024, when he attended Vespers at St. Aidan's Antiochian Orthodox Church in Manchester, convincing him that Hope Church needed to join the Orthodox Church. Father Gregory Hallam of St. Aidan's agreed to guide the congregation through the conversion process, which officially began in February 2025, with most Hope Church members becoming catechumens. So, pretty amazing. In Finland, 200 became Orthodox this spring. This was out April 8th. So the majority of conversions typically take place during the period from Lazarus Saturday through Holy Saturday, of course. The church's news notes that most of those joining this year were received through the sacrament of chrismation, as they had already been baptized elsewhere in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But those who had not been previously baptized were received through both baptism and chrismation. So, 200. Just this spring. It's almost on par with the British church, because they had 250, that's 200 here in Finland, and around the same period of time. And then there was they say mass baptism, although it was 8, but on April 8th, out of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. You can see the newly illumined here. They are 8 men, and they were brought into the Russian Orthodox Church Diocese of the Philippines and Vietnam. So it's in Ho Chi Minh City. The name of the church is Intercession of the Holy Mother of God Church. So they were baptized in on Saturday, March 28th. Now, we ask, why are in America, why are young Americans choosing the church? Now, according to this ROCOR church in Albany, New York, Church of the Nativity of the Most Holy Mother of God, the Archpriest Alexis Duncan, he explains, I'm just going to give you a couple of quotes on this. He said, many young people feel that contemporary life is empty and lacking meaning. They see a world focused on selfishness, money, power, influence, and possessions, beautiful things, expensive cars, and constant excitement. Yet all of this leaves them feeling unfulfilled. Yeah. Let's see. He says we try to point them toward a path that brings deeper joy and lasting happiness. I tell them that the most important things in life are often the most difficult: fasting, prayer, attending church, and loving one another. Yet these are the only things that truly give life meaning and lead to happiness. Many young Americans are tired of political correctness and ideological pressure. I am not speaking about politics as party affiliation, but about being forced to accept ideas they know are not true. For many young men, this creates a desire to rebel and seek truth. This is what this priest Alexis had said. Now, generally speaking, young families and young adults, particularly men, are flocking to the Orthodox Church seeking ancient tradition, theological consistency, and structure in a chaotic modern world. Drawn by an unchanging faith, converts value the deep liturgy, fasting, and spiritual discipline over contemporary, watered-down styles. Indeed. Indeed. And I'm going to share this one portion of the video with from Tucker's show with Father Josiah, where he's explaining what happened in his church, and it's really nice. So I'm going to play that for you.
We can look at what's going on honestly, and even though it's so sorrowful, we can still be confident in his presence and try to serve him and do good to our land and to benefit our land. And we don't know the future. Who knows what's going to happen? We've had 3 years of unbelievable renewal, Christian renewal in this land that has blown away every other movement of faith in my lifetime. I was born in 1967, I think about 3 or 4 years before you. I've never seen anything like this. So I want to lob a bomb of hope, a hope bomb, after listening to your powerful but very, very discouraging words.
Sorry. It's my dark Scandinavian soul raising its ugly head once again. I am prone to that, and I love your response to it. So can you just, can you give me an outline? You say this is, in 33 years of ministry, this is the most powerful moment for God among people you've seen. This is, it seems like a revival. What are you seeing that leads you to that?
It has always been, I've always, as a priest, been very interested in people who are outside my parish. In my local community, we priests and pastors are always trying to build connections in where we are, in the dirt that God gave us to make his. And the normal year to have maybe 25 people who were signing up for a year-long catechism program to prepare themselves for baptism. That was a good year for much of my priesthood. This year, I catechized 350 people.
Wow.
And I just, it's actually such a fantastic problem because our parish is large. We have maybe about 1,300 active parishioners, and I can't fit them all in the church. We've had to really suck in, and I just baptized 115 people. Orthodox Easter was this last Sunday, and I'm used to baptizing, 20, 25, something like that. So we're talking a 5-fold increase in those that I received by baptism this year, and the numbers that are lining up for next year are more than double that.
Wow.
And I can't project that everywhere and say that's happening everywhere, but I've been looking at stats. I've been looking at stats coming not just from America, but even from Western Europe, which I, previous to this, had pretty much completely written off. Western Europe has just been dying, spiritually dying for a long time. I'm a 4th-generation Southern Californian, but my family's heritage is England. I was educated there, and I've gone back to England every year for the last 30 years. And always it's been, religiously discouraging, spiritually discouraging. But these last few years, even in places in Western Europe that were not doing well and have not been doing well for decades, really, post-World War II and on, there are massive numbers of people being baptized and entering into catechism. It can't be denied.
Yes, mass numbers. And we know that because I just gave you that information. There he was talking about England, and I just gave you the information on what's going on there, and other places in Europe. They're growing as well. So, although we're in a dark time, there's always that hope, there's always that light there, and things are being revealed so that we are aware of what's going on, and the church is growing. And I find that so inspirational, so edifying, so wonderful that in the middle of all this, the church is growing. And so I hope you all got something out of that. Thanks so much for watching, for following my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you would like to become a member, just hit that join button below the video. And there's 2 tiers. There's the Light the Candle tip box for $2.99, or there's the Coffee Hour Java, which is basically a cup of coffee, $4.99. If you'd like to support me and my work that I do in my videos, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, but I appreciate everybody that has supported my channel in this way, through whether it's joining as a member or buying me a cup of coffee, which you can still do if you want to, if you just want to do tips once in a while instead of a commitment every month. Then I'll put the link is in the description if you'd like to do that, and like my videos if you like them, share them if you think they're worth sharing. It's always good. It helps the algorithm with the likes and all that, but it also is good to get the message out on certain things that I put out, because this was a long video, but it was a very important one, and I hope it it was very informative for you. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, evening, morning.